Hello and welcome once again to the How Long to Beat podcast. I'm Rick. I'm very, very hot and I'm coming to you with my colleagues. Warm, no, it's like 30 degrees in the UK and I can't deal with it. I am joined by Alex.
Oh, hello.
And Paula.
Hello there.
It's like not warm
so many
here for
beads of
once.
sweat on my forehead.
Like 2 days ago, it was like 35 degrees, but we just got hit by like a big storm came through, so it just broke the heat, which is nice.
When do you reckon that's headed our way? Please, soon. I hope. Oh man! So we've fingers crossed. We've got lots of completions and retirements and currently playings to go through with you. We have a topic, but it's kind of Paula telling us about Age of Empires 4. We'll come to that when we get to that. And then once we finish with that, we will round out the episode with everybody's favorite podcast-based game show with a brand new format.
Just
hopefully you like it. No, you're just not going to say it. How long to beat the game? 3, 2, 1.
How long to beat the game?
The game.
Even that you didn't trust. Even that you did not trust.
I've lost all trust. I'm a broken man.
Man. Shall I kick off our completions?
Yeah, I have a big one. You got a lot.
So
yeah, might as well.
I certainly do. Now, I just want to get the time right. So whoever's edit this week, it is. We may well trim this bit out. Hang on.
It's Paula this week.
Sorry, Paula. Or leave this in. This is like super engaging content.
How the sausage gets made.
Riveting.
Well, exactly. So, at around 2 a.m. UK time on the 29th of July, 2022, I finally beat The Witcher.
Oh, praise all that is holy.
Hold your applause.
I know.
Hold your
Well
applause. So
now you're going to have to start...
Sorry, go on.
Now you're going to have to start playing The Witcher 2 so we can still joke about, hey, Rick, when are you playing The Witcher now?
Just starts majorly sweating.
For a while, yeah. I do have like a Geralt-shaped void in my life, but for now...
Witcher 2 is very good as well. Like I like that one just as much as The Witcher 3.
I've heard it's very much like a proto 3. Like 3
Big
just
time.
builds on the massive changes they made for 2. Yeah, so I mean, for people who've not necessarily been keeping up, which I don't blame you, I started this game in November of last year. I first played this game about a year before that when my friend sat me down and was like, I'm not leaving until you start the game. He's been pestering me to play The Witcher 3 forever. So I've been actively playing this game for like 8 months or so. And by actively, I mean I've been sort of dipping in and out. The problem that I personally have had with this game is just the age of the thing. So
yeah,
it's good, but there's a lot that you need to pick up and reorientate to before you can crack on with the game. So I would find I'd dip in for 10 minutes here and there, but I'd only really make progress when I could sit down for 3 or 4 hours and really sink my teeth into it. And that was the case with the completion. I'd gotten to like end of chapter 2, start of chapter 3, I think it was. And I happened to have a few days off in succession. And it happened to be that my girlfriend wasn't around, so I had the place to myself. I didn't have a lot to do in that window of time. So I pretty much bum rushed the second half of The Witcher. I think I played in the region of sort of 15, 20 hours over those 2 days through into the morning of the third day, which was the 29th. And that's when I beat it. And I think as soon as the credits rolled, I messaged you guys and said, I did it. I finally fucking did it.
Finally.
I had a great time. I don't know if I would recommend it per se. The story is really good. The story absolutely came through. Like there's a low-key twist at the back end that genuinely threw me a loop. I was like, fair play. And that's the strongest part of the game. The writing absolutely holds up. The gameplay kind of doesn't. Like it's not that it's not engaging or fun, but as I say, there's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot that is poorly explained or superfluous, or far more trouble than it's worth to engage with. And even ignoring a lot of those systems, with about half an hour of grinding in the swamplands in chapter 3, my magic was broken to the point that I was just spamming Igni and getting through most late game fights, including the final couple of boss encounters. So that was kind of enjoyable from sort of a Metroidvania, you're way too powerful kind of thing. Like, it's not that I didn't have a good time with it. And I apologize for the ice cream van that went.
Oh, that's what ice cream van. Okay,
I'm assuming that's why you're both laughing.
Yeah, I hear this like tinkle, 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 and I was like, I'm amazed that there's still ice cream trucks and stuff around.
The temperature is here. They're out in full force. I remember last year they had the James Bond theme going, so it's like ding 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 ding, a bit like in an ice cream tinkle. So that was a whole thing. But yeah, so the whole difficulty side of thing, from you're super overpowered and it's like a power trip thing at the end of the game. That aspect of it was quite fun, but it didn't really feel in fitting with the way that the story was building. Again, a lot of different ways of saying I had a great time. I think I would probably recommend watching a Let's Play over actually doing it yourself. I think if you really want that story grounding going into The Witcher 2, and the impression I get is you don't necessarily need it. I don't know that I can hand on heart say that actually playing the first game is the right way to get that grounding. That said, I really, really enjoyed it, and I'm glad I stuck it out. And yeah, sometime in the next 12 months, maybe I'll pluck up the courage to start The Witcher 2.
I mean, all the Witcher games, honestly, and even the books themselves, in some ways, they don't follow that intensely. Now, like the books, like 1 to whatever, they are obviously chronological, but like there's so many short stories, and like the games themselves feel, for the most part, like contained adventures that have.
The games are very separate, as I understand.
Yeah, because the games aren't even part of the chronology of the books, right? Like they're like technically after the books.
They kind of break canon in the sense that they bring Geralt back.
They
make him amnesiac so that they can kind of do whatever the hell they want.
Yeah, which is great, but also makes it so that you can kind of play whichever one you want. And like, honestly, there's so much intrigue and stuff that, like, as someone who's played all of them, each time I played one of the games, I had forgotten fucking everything. I was like, wait, who's that guy? And then they'll just kind of explain it. And I'm like, oh, great. That sounds good. Which is, I actually think is a strength of them. It can be a weakness in some ways, because it's like, oh, it'd be nice if these tied in together a little more. But at the same time, you don't always want to have to like break out your encyclopedia to figure out what the hell's going on.
Yeah. Well, it cuts both ways. Like the strength of a game trilogy like Mass Effect is that it is so neatly and extremely tied between the two. But like you say, it is also a potential drawback if it requires more of the player going into subsequent games. One thing that did make me laugh, there's a big sort of choice between two side characters in, I want to say, chapter 3. And when I was looking at the quest line, because I had to check something about it, it was like, yeah, you can side with Shani, but like she never appears again in the series. So you might want to just side with the other character because she does. So that was a whole thing. And that's maybe a weakness of it when they come to number 2. Anyway, that was The Witcher. I'm happy I finished it, but also very, very happy it's over. I have quite a few more completions actually this week, mostly Switch-based. One that wasn't on Switch before we move through. I did finish Secret of Mana. The last half hour didn't change the opinion that I shared last time we talked about it. It's not a bad game, but it is a fundamental...
Again and again.
They're gonna like do your street or something. Sorry, I just had to. Like, it was only fleeting, but it's amazing.
I can hear it. I'm trying to work out what tune it is they're doing. It's a bit late for ice cream as well. It is 9:20 in the UK.
That is a bit late, isn't it? Well, whatever. Who knows?
It's also still very, very warm. So
and
I
it's
don't know.
Summer, right?
Maybe people are high as balls and they want to munch on ice cream. I don't know.
Absolutely. Anyway, sorry. Continue, Rick. Secret of Mana.
Yeah, that's fine. It's not a bad game. It's just a fundamentally flawed game in almost every respect. Can't recommend it unless you're desperate to experience every Mana game. Probably the only reason I stuck with it. That, and like, it's quite an easy game just to veg out to a podcast playing. Yeah, that's that. Tangle Tower on Switch, I had a much more positive impression of.
Great game.
The ending's a little bit abrupt.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's probably my only criticism of it. That, and maybe the structure of it is a little bit linear, which normally not so much of a problem for me. But the way the game is set up, certainly in the first 2/3, 3/4 of the game, you have a character in each room of the tower that you have to interrogate. You ask a few base questions about who they are, what their relationship was to the murder victim, a couple of other things. And then you can ask them to, adventure game style, comment on any of the other characters you've met and also any of the items that you've acquired up to that point. But it very quickly gets to a point where it's sort of nudging you to just ask every character about everything until it prompts you to say you've got enough info to do one of the interrogation-y bits. Not necessarily a problem, but I suppose it was a little bit jarring for me because the first half of that portion, I actually found I was quite seamlessly moving through and asking the right questions on my own to do it. But then the hint system was like, oh, you should go and talk to such and such. And like bounces you back and forth until you've like pulled all of the things from all of the people. So it kind of very obviously shows you the gamey structure of it. That said, the story itself is really good. The way they sort of Agatha Christie murder mystery style pull everything together and solve this like closed room puzzle in essence that is the murder at the core of the story, and the way that they then tie that into a much larger overall narrative, I've really, really liked. And albeit the ending was abrupt, I did feel it was appropriate, and I like the way that it maybe, without giving anything away, kind of departed a little bit from sort of convention and tropes in that kind of genre. Not in a forced way, but it felt like it was fresh in the way that it approached it. It's great. It's a nice 4 or 5 hour run through. Switch is not necessarily the best way to play it, in my opinion, just because it's best suited to touch controls. And when you're doing exclusively touch things on a Switch, you're kind of reaching around the controllery parts. It's not massively a problem, but if you have access to Apple Arcade, or I assume it's got a PC port, I think those are a better way to play it, personally. Still really, really good, even on Switch, which is where I played it. Fun, great little game. Anything? I know you played this one as well, Alex. Anything you disagree with there, want to pull back on? Or
no, I think you're right. I mean, yeah, it is quite abrupt. Like that's why I remember when I finished it, I was like, "Ooh, I want more." That's truly my one big complaint with it. It's just like, I would like more, please, because I think that's when I talked to you a little bit about how I was like, oh, I realize now just how intense these attorney games are, because it's like, this is a smaller studio, and to even just make this kind of like 4 hour-ish thing takes a lot of time to like create this compelling investigation type game. So made me think of these longer investigation games that are like, 40 hours or so, and I'm like, oh, holy shit, how do they do that?
The amount of moving parts, for sure. Right. I think they are working on another detective grimoire game though, so
I think so, yeah.
More is coming, which is good. There is not more coming of Alive Forever, which is the nostalgia trip iOS sort of twin stick shooter that I was playing. The difficulty curve for that is like an ECG thing. It's so up and down. Even if I wanted to recommend it, it's not really available anymore. It's fun for what it was. It was very much a completion for me. There's not really a lot to say beyond that. It was a visit back into my childhood. And I suppose there was a certain degree of melancholy to that, because it's like, wow, this game was kind of shit. Like it's from an age, and I think I talked about this last time, it's from an age of touchscreen controls when the stick was static and not floating. So a lot of the times you'll drag your thumb to move or to shoot, and it will come off the stick. And then your character just stops. And when you're running away from a horde of zombies or trying to kite them, or trying to do specific things under intense like mechanical and time pressure, it's not the one. It's not ideal at all. But the underlying game itself was, if a bit by the numbers, really good for what it was. And it was a nice one to go back to.
I have so much nostalgia for those old freaking, like, I think of Osmos and like all of those like yeah, hit a little thing for it.
I've never played it, but it's one of the ones that's still installed. I probably will get to.
Right? Oh, it was great. But like, it's just this era of like, because I remember I won one of the only things I ever won in my life. I won an iPad. And I don't remember even how. It was like through something. It was the first gen ones, and I remember downloading all of these touch games, Plants vs Zombie, and all that shit. And my god, man, that was a good time.
Mm. And it's a lost time because loads of those games just straight up aren't accessible.
Oh yeah, they're gone. Which, I mean, we didn't lose a lot of gems, put it that way, but it sucks to lose them, you know?
I think we lost a lot of experimentation. I think that's the most
Yes.
important thing. I know this is a bit of a tangent, but it's not necessarily about what you succeed at, but it's about what problems you solve. And I think particularly in the touch space, there's lots of problems that were solved there that future developers can't revisit and identify because that it's just not available anymore. It's gone. I think the biggest single culprit was like with iOS, they removed the 32-bit libraries and they had no way of porting things forward. No sort of legacy mode. Those libraries just straight up don't exist in the newer OS. So those apps just straight up don't run anymore. There's, I think I remember talking about it a few months ago. There's a Mirror's Edge side scroller that was fucking phenomenal. Gone now. I happen to have an iPod that still has it installed. When that iPod bites the dust, that game's gone forever.
Yeah.
For the money, it's arguably the best Mirror's Edge game, as much as I love the main games. Gone. Anyway, Broforce. I replayed this on Switch. It's still amazing. I think it's the first time I played it solo, which is a very different vibe, but had a lot of fun. Blasted through it quite easily, quite quickly. But that's just a function of how many times I've played this game. I remember putting in the time and looking at like the HLTB average and thinking, hang on, that's not right at all. But then I remembered, hang on, you played this 6 times before, dummy. Of course you've finished it quicker. Like, that's how that goes. Great game. If you've not already played it, cannot recommend it highly enough. Doubly so if you have like a friend to play it with. It's so much fun in co-op. And then finally, this was a bit of a left field pick for me. It's a game that was on sale for like £1.50 on the eShop, so I picked it up and gave it a try. It's called Lofi Ping Pong. And it's like a really short, really minimalistic rhythm game where you play ping pong to the beat of lo-fi music. And they try and mix it up by having the ball like change direction mid-flight sometimes and covering some of your view sometimes. But at its core, you are, for a period of time that is the song length, playing on a 3-lane music thing, and it's just on the drum beat, and it's that one that you're hitting every time. So there's not really a lot of complexity to it. The tracks are really, really nice. You can box this game off in like half an hour. I think for the price, it's fun. It's not really breaking lots of new ground, and there isn't really much mileage in the format, but the way they've set it up, there doesn't really need to be. And there are a couple of tracks that I really genuinely adored that I've then gone and found afterwards. Even if people don't play the game, there's a song called Peace by Satoru. It's like Satoru Iwata, but with 2 U's at the end. Just wonderful. Really, really good. Do I recommend the game? Probably not. Like even at £2, like it's pretty thin. And one of the midsection levels was just gross. But the overall package is quite nice. Like it's an interesting diversion, and I opened it up between campaigns on a game that I'm currently playing that we'll talk about later, Live Alive, and it was a real nice palate cleanser after like 3 hours of very intense story, heavy RPGing, just to like have some lo-fi beats and press buttons for 20-30 minutes. So, you know, if that's the kind of palate cleanser you need in your life, this is absolutely the game for that.
Nice.
I think that's the best note I can possibly leave that on, and that's all my completions. Paula's been playing lots but not completing lots. So, Alex, tell us about your completions this week.
It's me. Yeah, so I started diving into I was on vacation, right? Like I went out east to visit my family, and I brought the Switch with me. So I was doing a lot of Switch gaming while I was out there. And the thing is, though, I was watching also a lot of Better Call Saul. And so I was really looking for games where I was just like, my Switch has honestly become that thing that I do while watching TV, which is so bad, I'm sure, because I'm not probably fully paying attention to the TV, but, you know, for the most part. And so I started playing Pokemon Puzzle League, and it was really fun. And I beat the whole thing. So you have to, like, to beat it, you basically start on because they've got these campaigns, right? So you start on easy, and like really you could do all of them, but I started on easy and I got through it, and I was like, well, that wasn't that bad. And then I tried normal, and I was like, oh, this isn't that bad either. And then when you play normal, there's like more opponents in the campaign than in the easy one. You're like, interesting. There's like a whole other segment, and they do it as if it's like, you know, going through the gyms and then the Elite Four, and then it's like, now you should try hard, and I'm like, okay, and I think the on-ramp was really good because I found that I was doing fine against them until the last guy, the final one that you fight, suddenly they were just like, and now we're just going to fuck it right up there. You know, I still beat it, but it was just like, you could tell that I'm like, all right, so you clearly like, this one is like just tweaked to the max a little bit. And I'm not particularly good at Pokemon Puzzle League. It's like Tetris Attack, by the way, for those who kind of aren't really familiar with it. You have colored blocks, and you swap the blocks around to create like rows of matching, you know, like 3 to like 6 or 7. You can get really high, and the idea is that you're kind of trying to set them up so that when you switch the 2 blocks around, you create chains, which I can't do for the life of me. I've seen people who play this and they can set up some crazy fucking chains. Can't do it. And by doing that, you like send over blocks and shit to your opponent, and they have to, you know, do matches and stuff. It's really fun. And
so has competitive match 3 in essence.
Not really, because it has the Tetris elements to it. Because match 3 is just like you have a box full, right? But in this one, you have blocks that are falling down, and you can move any of the blocks, and if it hits the top, you die. Yeah. So think of match.
But it's in the Tetris tunnel, but it's not like the Tetris shapes. It's just like individual blocks.
Exactly.
Different colors.
Individual blocks in different colors. Yep. And you can move all the blocks in like, you can swap them in you can swap 2 blocks basically. That's how you do it horizontally. Yeah. So I really dug it. It's like the Pokemon veneer is entirely cosmetic. Like you like choose a Pokemon, which I still can't figure out if it has any impact on the game whatsoever because you're playing as Ash. And frankly, I think this is just a case of like probably Nintendo or the Pokemon company, like Tetris Attack was created and they're just like, all right, well, Tetris is a big name, but how can we sell more of this? And they're like, well, throw Pokemon on it. And that was a good idea because it's pretty charming. And they have like the animated oh my god, what am I trying to say? The like Pokemon anime, they did like a little animated segment with Ash and like some of these other characters in it, so it's cute. I will say the N64 looks horrible. Like it is so bad looking. The text is horrifying looking, and I'm certain that's because on CRTs it was probably like fuzzier and like probably looked nicer on those TVs, but oh my god, I don't know if it's the emulation or something, but on my Switch Lite, man, every menu looks gross. Like it's just so gross looking. Like I'm like, oh no. And yeah, I think this is a console that has not aged particularly well, you know, like that and the PS1, they've aged really, really poorly.
Early polygons are a dicey one.
Yeah, and like also because like I would sort of kind of like compare it with the NES a little bit, like early NES in some ways too, where like there's some impressive stuff that the NES does, but let's be honest, you look at it sometimes and you're like, what? Or even like Atari, right? Where you're like, what the fuck? Like Atari might be a better
Atari's
comparison.
the better one. Yeah.
Because you look at Atari now and you're just like, the shit is going on this screen, you know? And to
what
be
are
fair,
you on about? This
is
a racing track. You know?
I know, right? And you're like, or even Commodore 64, like any of the earlier, like virtually 1-bit consoles. Anyway, so I played that. I really enjoyed it. I also played this game Pixel Colors. So I bought a bunch of puzzle games that they were on sale. And you remember that I played this a while ago. It was like Pixel Adventure or something, I think. It's like that like Picross game where you actually go and you're like in an overworld and you go and find all the puzzles, and when you solve it, it like recreates them in the world.
I think I remember you mentioning it. I couldn't tell you anything about the game, but I remember you mentioning it.
Well, that developer has made a bunch of games with the characters that they have, and they had a whole fucking Picross color game, and it's really fucking good. And I was like, oh, that's my favorite kind. But what's really neat about this one, and it's different than like Picross's color game is that the way this one works is that in each row, it'll tell you how many colors are in that row, but it doesn't indicate like where they are next to each other unless they're like fully solid. If they're solid, it means these two are next to each other. Otherwise, there's just a green one somewhere in here. And so it's a different kind of like game, and it's really fun. I will admit the art is it's pretty rough. Like the puzzles that you're creating, like Picross colors, you could tell that like they make less of them, so I think that they could be more impressive. But this one has a lot of puzzles in it, which I have to say, like, kudos to the developer on this, because like there are so many puzzles. I think there's like I don't know, probably 300 or so, like maybe probably more than that, puzzles in here. So I can't be too hard on them for that, you know. But really fun, really enjoying it. And I highly recommend it. And I also think he makes these like really cute like renderings of the characters that he has that are like these kind of like plasticky 3D looking. It's hard for me to describe them, but they look really satisfying. Like it's just like real quality. And I would say now, having played this Pixel, and it's Pixel like PICZLE. Having played like now 2 of the games from this developer, they're the ones that I would say are the most interesting compared to Jupiter in their Picross games, where I feel like the UI, like everything in it is really nice, and it has full touchscreen support, and the touchscreen support is really nice because you just have all your paint cans on like the right hand side, so you can just tap the paint can and then you can just drag your finger along. And they have a great thing, because at first I was like, I don't understand why you have this option where it says like you can't paint over a tile, you have to just hit a paint bucket to like erase. You can disable that if you want. But then I realized I was like, oh, it's because if you're using your finger, you can literally just pull across and drag over any line and just like go to town without having to worry about like messing up all the others. And it's really, really nice. So basically everything that I like, I always complain about Picross clones, these puzzle clones, because usually what I find is that they make the puzzles, but their UI is shit. And the UI is what's really important in these games, right? And in this one, I'm like, no, this is a case of the UI being like crisp, and just everything that I would want to do, the game has already thought of and like done it. So I really recommend it. And it was on sale too. Like I was like, I got it for like $3, I think. And the amount of fun I've gotten out of it, I'm like, that was well worth my $3. And the last one I played was Unmemory. This was in a bundle that I got. I bought too many bundles. I'm gonna be real with you. I have so many PC games right now. It's bad. And I would tell myself, I'm like, oh, I've got more than enough. I never need to buy more games, but there's always more games. And you never know what kind of mood you're going to be in, you know? Now it's great. I got Game Pass, all these things, and I'm just like, I want to play this kind of game. And I'm like, well, I've got every kind of that. It's great.
That's the way of the backlog.
It really is. But I played this one called Unmemory, which is kind of neat. They're like log line is like a game you read, or was it?
It's a game you can read, a book you can play.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm looking at the website now. It actually looks sick.
It's really cool. The story's kind of, I don't know. It's a little memento-y, which it's fine. It's just like, and don't worry, like not to spoil anything. It's like literally like that's the conceit. It's like the movie Memento, and you figure that out the minute you start playing. So don't worry, everyone. It's not like, yeah, don't worry. It's not a spoiler. That's why it's called Unmemory. And it's fine. Not very satisfying in the end, but I think the concept of the game is really cool, and it's really fun to play. I think it was originally an iOS game. I think it might be better as an iOS game, because there were a few control moments that kind of got weird for me, and I realized that like I was trying to scroll down, but you actually have to kind of like have your cursor hovering over the text to scroll instead of just being able to scroll anywhere. So if you have a chance to play this, I might recommend just doing it on iOS, because I think that's kind of how it was meant to be played. It worked perfectly fine, but I do think it was meant to be played that way.
Looks like it was iOS first. It's on Android as well for anyone who's interested. I'm looking as we speak.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, when I say iOS, I mean Android as well, but thank you. I'm the Android guy anyway. But yeah, but again, it's probably more expensive there. Because I basically got it. Yeah, I basically got it for like a couple cents. So, yeah. You know, which why I can really recommend it. It's not super long either. You play it in a couple hours. there is this like outside of the game aspect to it that's a bit of a secret that is quite underwhelming. But it also worries me because I'm like, if you put something, it's neat, don't get me wrong, that you have this thing that you can do that's kind of a secret, but someday that's not going to work. And you know what I mean? That's why I'm a little bit like, I just kind of wish games would just stay in there, stay together in the thing, you know? And then I figured out the secret, and once I did, it was not satisfying. So anyway, this was a Kickstarted game, I think. I love the concept. I feel like I'm being a little harsher on it than I need to be, but like I would recommend I don't know. I would recommend like sorry, what am I trying to say? I would like to see more games try this kind of format. I think it's a neat format for a narrative game. Oh my god, that's it. Okay.
You had an on-memory moment. You couldn't think what you were trying to say.
Yeah, man, it's been a few weeks since we've recorded an episode. My brain's all fucked.
It actually has, yeah.
We went on summer vacation. The Northern Hemisphere boys went on summer vacation. Poor Paula is still in winter hell.
Tragic thing is, I've got another vacation in a couple of days.
Yeah.
Another holiday, as we call it here.
The holidays, yeah.
Vacation.
Well, we say vacation. Sorry, what did you say, Paula? You mentioned something there. I think we missed it.
I said, well, you two guys were just having fun on with your summertime. I've been just moving because I had to move from my older place to a newer place, and it has been hell.
Yeah, we've been having fun.
We've all been going places. Yours has just been a bit more permanent.
Oh god,
and a bit less fun.
That was pretty good, actually.
Yeah.
We've all been going places. I like that. Why don't we jump right in then to our retirements? Rick, why don't you regale us again?
Yeah, I've got like 1.5 retirements. So the first one is Game Pass doing me dirty again. So wow, I say Game Pass. Actually, Alex, you slightly did me dirty here because you assured me it's the 15th of every month.
That's usually when they leave. And the last of the month.
Here come the caveats. Dodgeball Academia said leaving soon. I was like, cool. I've got until the 15th of next month to do it. Anyway, I come to it on the 2nd, and it's already gone. So,
Ta-da!
yeah.
Oh, well, that was because it was the end of the month, right?
Give over. I didn't really start this game to retire. I just wanted an excuse to be angry about it. But my actual retirement was Metal Gear Rising Revengeance. And sad. I expected to like this game. I just think the parry system's kind of shite, and I didn't want to fight through it. Like, I've got no attachment to Metal Gear as a franchise. I liked Peace Walker. I liked 3 as their own individual things, but I don't really give a fuck about Raiden. I like Platinum Games, but I'm not willing to fight through that parry thing. I have to say, the whole real-time blade slashing mechanic, very cool. Did like that a lot. Did really enjoy running up the blade of the the Metal Gear rather, and just slicing it to bits. There's a fun game in there, but I just wasn't willing to try and find it. Like, not a priority game for me. Not time I have to spend. Maybe I'll come back to it one day. Probably not, but is what it is.
It is a game that you have to like. I feel like you have to get over that like parry system, and once you do, it's quite fun. But that is a big stumbling block.
Yeah, and particularly like once you get to is it chapter 1 or chapter 2? Once you like you fully become Raiden to try and avoid spoilers. There's like a couple of early bosses in that until and unless you can make the parry system work for you, absolutely hand it to you.
Yeah.
And that was the point where I was just like, nah, fuck this. It's not.
Did you get up to like the Cyber Wolf character? I think it's Cyber Wolf. I can't remember what it's called. Like the wolf.
The dog that jumps about.
That's the one that breaks people, I think. It almost broke me.
It broke me.
Yeah.
That's where I came off.
Yeah. Yeah. If you get past that, you'll sail through the rest of the game. But that's the part where it's like, it really is like, do you know how to parry? Because if you don't know how to parry, you're fucked, bud. Like, and that's the
and this is the thing, like, everything hits so hard. Like, you are a glass cannon, and I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing, but in conjunction with a really tricky parry system, it can be a bad thing. And it sounds like Cyberwolf is the culmination of the badness of that.
Yeah, see, this is also, though, where the game, I do think there's a bit of a fault with the game where it's not teaching this enough, but, like, where you're a glass cannon, you're not really a glass cannon, because as you get good, what you do is you start to slice through the enemies so that you can grab their like energy cores, and that automatically fully replenishes you and your energy. So you start stringing off some mad fucking combos where like I was just like, eventually it was like, motherfuckers can't touch me now. The final boss is kick ass a fair bit, but you get through it, and it's okay. But yeah, I would recommend, like, if I don't know, if you're ever interested again, like I would try some of the VR missions and just get used to the parry system, because I actually think once the parry system works, it's actually quite fun, because it's a camera based parry system, which is what threw me off for a while, because I was kind of doing it based on like I was trying to intuit like, oh, they're coming this way, so I hit down like this. It's like, no, where's your camera facing? That's the direction you go in, based on where the enemy's coming at you, and it's a little weird in that sense. I still think it's part of the fault of the game for not properly teaching you how to do this stuff, because it does make people bump off, which is sort of disappointing, because I do think it's actually very fun once you get through some of that. But it's also like, you got to decide, do I want to invest time in that or not? There's a lot of games out there.
Yeah, and ultimately I didn't. And speaking of a lot of games, God damn, Alex, have you retired a lot of games this time?
Yeah, but
Those are
they're
games.
pretty fast. I went to the N64, and a lot of N64 games are shit. So I tried Mario Golf, doesn't explain anything. I literally couldn't figure out where to find the tutorial for how the game works. I tried so hard. I even looked up, I was like, how does the game ever show you its systems and how it works? And I think it's just a resounding no. Like,
read the manual, dummy. Oh, wait.
Oh, actually, you know what? It could be the
Wait a
manual.
second.
But actually, I might be able to read the manual, because I think the games come with the manuals. Or at
like
least
a
some of
digital
them.
copy, like 3DS
Digital.
style.
Yeah, they might. But I don't know if they do. But they might. There might be some online. I don't know.
Anyway.
Yeah, so fuck that. Mario Tennis I just played for a little bit because it was fun. And it's Mario Tennis. It was fun. But I'm not going to fucking play any more of it. Come on. Played as Donkey Kong and I won the cup. I'm done. It's Mario Tennis. Also, though, people I think are too hard on the new Mario Tennis and golf games, because frankly, they've never been that good. They're tennis and fucking golf games. Like, chill out. Like,
do you know what though? The GBA Mario Tennis slaps.
Yeah, and that's
so good.
That's a whole different thing, right? Like, because that was like this RPG 2D. Like, it's a whole different type of game. Same with the golf one. I love both of those. It's Camelot. They're fucking excellent with those 2D shit. But it's fucking golf and tennis. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I just feel like I'm like, what do you expect from these games? The one complaint that I do think is very valid with those, though, is like the fact that they seem to be launching without all the content now. Like, they're just trying to push them out so that they can then get that. I'm like, yeah, that's kind of bullshit. But anyway, those twos are retired. I started playing Kirby 64 the Crystal Shards, and that was a big fucking nope. Like, whoa.
No good things about that one.
No thanks. It's very slow.
No?
But listen, here's the problem. I bet you anything, playing this in 1998 or something, or 97 was fucking dope. Look at Kirby move. Fucking 3D.
He's
Kirby.
actually a ball now.
Yeah. But the new Kirby game is so good that I could not play this. I was like, nah, I'd rather just go back and play the new Kirby, because that Kirby is like incredible. It's just really slow. It's really, really slow. You feel like Kirby weighs like 30 tons as you're walking through it. You know what? Actually, the best way to describe it feels like Kirby is moving underwater. And that's just not satisfying, right? When you've had tight control in Kirby, and it's still kind of 2D-ish. So I was like, I noped out of there really fast. I also started playing. Okay, so there's a game called Threaded, which is it's really gorgeous aesthetic. Like, it's this how do I describe it? They're not nonograms. It's a different type of puzzle. It's the kind of puzzle where you have a grid and there are numbers on it, and the numbers represent how many squares have to be filled, and they have to connect.
I do know the word for this.
Do you? Yeah.
I
don't know what they're called.
I like them though. And you have like they bisect into triangles sometimes, and so the numbers will read like left and down sort of thing.
Yeah, well, like in this one, it's a square. It's a rectangular grid, and so they're just squares. Okay. Yeah, and it's quite fun. I actually think the puzzles are really cool, and I think the aesthetic of it is really pretty. It's just very unwieldy. Like, even if you're using like touch controls on it, it's like, wee! Like, it just feels like you're going like, holy shit! Like, you're like, I can't. Oh my god! Like, and then if you try to use the other one, it's just too slow. So like, it just there's something wrong with it, which is also weird because I feel like it might be primarily a Switch game. So I'm like, I don't know. It's like, because I can't imagine playing this on your PC or some shit. Why the fuck would you play this on your PC? This is like literally a game that you play watching or listening to a podcast or watching a TV show, you know? Like, you don't play this. Anyway, it's a shame because it's really pretty, because it all looks like it's like cross-stitched, which I think is really gorgeous. So it creates a picture in the end, and it's really nice. I might come back to it eventually once I beat all the other ones that I got, but not for a while. Dr. Mario 64, I just noped out of that really fast. I don't really like Dr. Mario, and this one's not particularly fun. It's got a story mode. It's cool. I don't like Dr. Mario. I don't know why. I don't like it. I've never liked it. I don't know why I thought I'd like it this time. And as we all know, Dr. Mario, they got the viruses, and you know, you're dropping pills and the colors, and you have to match four.
I like Dr. Mario.
It's fine.
It's fun.
It's.
I mean, yeah.
It's fine.
It's not going to revolutionize anyone's life, but it's
Yeah.
fun. I like it. I think it's cool.
It's fun against other people. I think that's kind of where I'd put it.
Maybe.
I like
yeah.
playing against others. I don't really like playing on its own. On its own, I'm kind of just like, okay. So anyway, I noped out of that. Last one that I played was a major nostalgia kick for me. I don't even know why. I think it's because Tiamat posted his like playthrough of Dark Forces, and then I was thinking about like back in the day when I had a Macintosh, and I mean like a Macintosh, you know, the beige ones. That could actually play video games, and we had, cause like I don't know what it was, like maybe like a work buddy of Dad's or something. I don't know. Somebody gave us like this gray booklet of CDs, right? Like, you know, like those CD binders that you had back there.
Yeah.
And it had, like, now that I think back on it, incredible games in it, like Civ 2. I think it was like World of Tanks or something. There was like Carmen San Diego, a bunch of Star Wars games, Dark Forces, all this shit, and Rebel Assault 2 was in there. And I remember playing, and this game is so hard. I thought maybe I was just bad as a kid, right? And like maybe the game's actually not that hard. Popped it in because Uwe had actually, bless Uwe's soul, he beat this game like recently. I don't know how the fuck he did that. It is so unbelievably difficult because it's like an FMV game, and it's very, it's actually quite still looks really good. And I remember being really like blown away as a kid because I was like, oh my god, like it's Star Wars, you know, and like all the like, you know, oh look, it's a X-wing and all that shit. But you do these shooting segments where basically you press the right mouse button and you'll like duck out of cover, and then you have to shoot the enemies. But like straight up, you duck out of cover and they immediately just ping you, man. Like, there's like no way. Like you have to like honestly, you have to basically have your like mouse, and you can't really tell when you're undercover where your mouse is. So you have to have it essentially directly where the enemy is. Then you hit the right mouse button and you just fucking fire and then go back under and get back. And it's so tough because you don't like, your health is just like a gradual buildup of damage, and then you're dead. And then you have to like restart like the whole segment. It's brutal. And I beat this game as a fucking kid. And I don't know how the hell I did that. And then the worst part is that the shit missions are way fucking worse because it's meant to be played with a joystick. Like it really is. And I was trying to get my gamepad set up to use it because apparently it's a bit better with a gamepad, but for some reason it refused to recognize my gamepad. It was like, no, DOSBox was like just like, no, I'm not recognizing it, even though there are options for it. And it was like, nope, not doing it. So I was like, maybe I get my arcade stick to work because I bet that would be really actually fun to play with it as. And it was like, nope, hell no. Even though my arcade stick gets recognized as a 360 controller, which is something that says it can recognize. Anyway, just nothing worked. So I was like, fuck it, I'll try it with the mouse. And yeah, it's a nightmare with the mouse. It's such a nightmare. It's so twitchy, but I'm actually fairly good with the mouse on it because that's how I used to play it. And when you have the mouse, it's literally like you move it like a millimeter and it feels like your ship goes, ah! just goes right down. You're like, oh my god. And you have these super tight corridors that you're trying to fly through, and it's insane. It's like, it's easily one of the worst games ever to play. Like, it's just not a good game. But I had so much nostalgia for it. And so I went through and I used the passwords to like look through each of the missions again, just to like, even just to watch the clips and stuff. And like, I had a really fun time with it. I cannot in any way, shape, or form at all recommend this to anybody. It is not to be played Watching a playthrough of it though would be pretty fun because it's only like an hour or so. So like I would actually recommend watching a long play because I think it's really funny and it's like cheesy 90s acting, and so like it's actually a pretty good time to watch someone play through it. But I don't recommend actually playing it yourself. Like go play Star Wars Squadrons or something. Like that game's incredible. If you want like fun, ship battles and shit and like battle, there's a lot of good Star Wars games out there. This isn't one of them. Anyway, that's all the games I retired. I retired a bunch, but mostly just testing the waters and realizing that I don't like the N64. I love Mario Party. Yeah.
I won't be taking further questions.
And that is all. Yeah. I still have to beat Majora's Mask though. God damn, I always start that. I never beat it, but I've got the play. But I got a physical of that, by the way, the Majora's Mask strategy guide. Someone sold me it for dirt cheap. I don't think they knew what they had, but I was happy to take it off their hands. All right, let's get.
You always have the 3DS version if you don't want to play on N64.
Yeah, but I got the Narrow's all his HD textures, and it looks super good on my PC. I'm telling you better. Right now. Yeah, it's nice. So I'm actually perfectly happy with playing it on there. Anyway, enough of me. Paula, what have you been doing?
Well, speaking of the N64, I have a funny story because I said previously that I had to move from my older place to a newer place, and packing was a nightmare. So my boyfriend went and helped me out with packing all my stuff.
Nice.
And the thing is that we found the N64 between my sister's stuff, and it was like, hey, you have Zelda Ocarina of Time for the N64. And he was like, can I play some? So we ended up like plugging it to the TV, playing on the original N64 with the original controller, which by the way, my boyfriend was like, how the fuck do you hold this? Because it has like 3 handles. And he was like, you take this off my hands, you play instead. So we ended
Oh, it's straight up confusing when you first grab one of those. You're like, oh.
Yeah.
Who for
you know
3
what?
hands?
Until I saw a video which got the was like saying, how the fuck do you hold this thing? I never questioned it because I grew up with an N64 in my house, and it was like, oh yeah, you hold it like this for these games, and you hold it for like this for these other games. So it was like easy peasy. But now I look at it and it was like, who in their fucking mind thought this was like a good design for a controller? Because like the sticks is absolutely stiff. Try to play like for long sessions and your hands will get decimated. It's not ergonomic at all. Anyway,
I also think, sorry, this is a tangent, but I do think the design wise, I have no proof for this, and this is entirely just me speculating, but I feel like part of the thought might have been because they were going into the 3D world, that it was like, oh, the stick is for the 3D games, and this is for the 2D games, and like never would have thought that maybe you'd want to have a D-pad and a fucking analog stick. But to be fair, no one had made 3D games yet, so like, who knew?
True. Nowadays, like you use both of those suckers. Like every game, and you may be missing like some buttons because like, oh my god, some games can be like super complex on their controller scheme, or like just stupid. That can also happen. So we got distracted from packing, and we ended up playing Ocarina of Time instead. We went through the first dungeon of the game, the Great Deku Tree, and we got Zelda's Lullaby, and we got the Epona song, and also we got the Sand song. And we got a bunch of Skulltulas because I have issues and I memorize every single Skulltula of that game.
Damn.
At the very least, like the early ones, I know like even like the tricks to get the ones you're not supposed to get. So yeah, I have issues. Like
you have issues with Skulltulas aren't one.
And we also got like a couple of heart pieces that were like, okay, just stand like in this platform, try to like stand on this part you're not supposed to stand in, and just like do a flip to the left, and you fall into to the harpies. And that was
Turn around 3
the
times, clap your hands, say the sacred incantation.
Yeah. And my sister was just watching, and she was like commenting, like, "Oh yeah, I remember that," and it was quite fun. So maybe we'll continue playing this game, because we were like passing the controller between the two of us. Otherwise, how the fuck do you play with two people, one controller? Unless you could actually play two people, one controller with the Switch version, because you can flip the Joy-Cons between the two. Anyway, enough of Ocarina of Time. The other things that I've been playing, I haven't been playing so much, except for one game, which I'll leave for last.
Yes.
But I play a bit Stardew Valley. I think I'm arriving to the autumn. And yeah, I've been making bank with that little trick exploit that I told you about before. I've been playing Piofiore Faded Memories. I finished the prologue, and finally on Nicholas' route. And for those who don't remember about Piofiore, it's pretty much an automa game where there's like 3 mafia groups like controlling a city, and for some strange reason, the protagonist is like the like just between like the far, like between the war from of these 3 factions, so to speak, because the has it been explained? I don't think so. But for some reason, the protagonist is a special little snowflake, and controlling her in some way, it's gonna give some mafia group leverage over the other. Because that's Otome games. They're weird as fuck, but I play them regardless.
Amen.
Amen. Another game that I've been playing that is a boil-up game is Hashihime of the Old Booktown, and I haven't gone too far on this game yet, but from what I gather, the protagonist is an aspiring writer and works in an old bookstore, and there's some sort of mystery around this bookstore, or like the overall booktown, which I haven't like quite run into just yet. And the people in this boil-up game are like quite peculiar. Like the bookstore owner like just took him under his wing in exchange for him like to just like storekeep the place, and he hasn't really shown his face around the protagonist. Oh, and the protagonist has like this weird, I'm gonna call them like hallucinations, or like he sees like spirits in some way, which I'm not sure if it's a proper hallucination or it's like, oh, these are like actual spirits. I have no fucking clue about this just yet. And I've also been playing Color Malice. This is also a replay, as I stated like last couple of weeks ago. I don't know when I talk about this game last. But again, this one is an otome game. There's this terrorist group called Adonis, and they're trying to bring upon X Day, who's supposed like to be a rebirth of the world or something like that. And the overall like objective of the game is like to try to uncover who's behind X Day and try to stop them. Like who's the leader, or like how do you dismantle this organization from the inside and stuff like that.
I'm realizing, yeah, you definitely played before, because I'm like, I actually remember this game and what that plot is. I feel like I now by association know a lot about otome games. So, if anybody wants to know more, just come talk to me.
Yep.
It's the osmosis. We've become low-key experts just by mere exposure.
Yeah, that's my ultimate objective, just to make you two experts on otome games, so you can bring more people into otome games.
It's the long game.
Yeah, playing the long
Yep.
game for sure.
The other game that I started quite recently, actually the other night, was Pokemon Conquest. I have already played this game before twice, but I was like, hey, you know what? I want to play something on my DS. I want to play something familiar. What about a Pokemon game? And my boyfriend was like, you know what? Fuck Gen 5. What about the spin-offs? And we ended up deciding on Pokemon Conquest because it is a tactical RPG game with Pokemon. And this is probably the best Pokemon spin-off you've never played.
Yeah, I've had this on my list for a while. I've heard it's really good. I mean, I think you told me it was really good.
Yeah, same. It's one that's on the list, albeit quite far down.
Yeah, I totally recommend this game because it's kind of over the top because it's a crossover with Nobunaga's Ambition, which is it has been a tactical turn-based RPG. It has been an RTS. There's a lot of stuff on that series, but it's some tactical stuff, including one with cats. And of course, Nobunaga is called Nobunaga on that game.
Oh,
but
God.
back to Pokemon, yep, it
I
is
love
beautiful.
It's pretty funny.
And back to Pokemon Conquest, there's Nobunaga trying to take over the region that is absolutely not shaped like Arceus or Arceus or however the fact you pronounce that Pokemon's name, which is pretty much God. And you have to keep them from conquering all the region and try to conquer the region instead. Because, okay, he's the bad guy. Obviously, he can't take over the world. But if we do it, we're the protagonists, so we're clear. And you meet various characters. Yep, it checks out. There you meet various characters that are based on lords and historical figures from that time. And there's something about this game that I've never tried before because I play the main story, which is about between 10 and 12 hours. Sorry, I tried to combine the two of them. But if you try to play everything, it's about 100 hours because there's multiple campaigns on this game. And that I've never played. I just usually stick with the main story, but you can actually go through the stories of all of the lords of the game, which is quite interesting. And
God damn, yeah. I'm just looking at the HLTB now because I thought it was a conventional sort of 30, 40 hour thing, but it really is a stretch, like you say. Main story is 13, 40 hours. Main plus on the site is 40 hours, and then completion is 100 plus hours. Someone's clocked in 150 hour playthrough.
Mother of all that is holy.
Well, exactly, yeah. Woo.
Yeah. And that even math, that's amazing because it is a very good strategy game where each Pokemon has a single attack, but that attack may be from a certain type and has a different range depending on the Pokemon and the attack. So you have to build your team for each battle. And there's also a micromanagement thing where you, between each battle, will have to send some lords to gather resources or keep certain Pokemon at certain strategic places. Because if you keep a castle unguarded, you may have to deal with an invasion. And you have to defend the place from any of the enemy nations. So yeah, I 100% recommend this. it is like, I don't know, like there's something about Pokemon that fits this kind of game, and I wish there was more of it. So yeah, and finally, should I talk about this game now or later?
Let's
or
talk
now
about it
and
later. Because
later for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll talk about it entirely in a bit.
Yeah, there's another game which we'll talk about in a little bit. Yeah. Now, who wants to go next?
I will.
Let's have Rick go.
Throw my hat to the ring. Yeah.
Because then I can
want to talk.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I believe me, I know the segues there. So Days Gone is kind of the new The Witcher in that I'm playing it, but I haven't really touched it. So it's there, and it's objectively a much better game than The Witcher, albeit maybe a little bit more of a formulaic one. I think this is one where, as and when I find the time, I'm just going to have to sort of bum rush the story, because otherwise I'm going to be sitting on this forever. So it's still there, albeit, barely touched. I started a new phone game called Where Shadows Slumber. Really, really cool. It's quite Monument Valley-y, but instead of the MC Escher type overlapping sort of impossible geometry, you have isometric 3D spaces where it's all about manipulating light and shadow. So when shadow casts over certain objects, it can build or destroy paths. There's various sort of buttons and gizmos and puzzles that tie into it. There's also like a surprisingly robust story underneath it that's wordless, but where I often have issues with this kind of storytelling mechanism, here they do a really good job of making the right things clear and leaving the right things vague and ambiguous, to my mind so far. Only a couple of pounds or your regional equivalent. Seems criminally underviewed. It's only got like 10, 20,000 downloads. Cannot recommend it highly enough as a really easy sort of jump in, jump out thing. It's not massively breaking the formula. Like Light and Shadow Play, it's a thing that's kind of been done. But as a package, I think this is really great. And I've been having a blast with it. I started Undertale, which obviously is a big one. I'm playing on PS Vita, the superior platform. It's quite an interesting one. So this is definitely a game where you want to go in as completely blind as you can possibly get away with, even
which is
knowing
almost impossible now.
Which is almost impossible now, and even to the point that knowledge as minor as there is a pacifist run possible has kind of colored my approach to the game entirely. It's the approach I'm trying to take, albeit I've not been totally pacifist. I have killed a couple of little enemies, but in most of the fights that count, I've not killed. I love the mix of sort of conventional turn-based RPG and bullet hell for the combat system. The story is still opening up. I'm about 2 hours in, but it is quite interesting. Papyrus is possibly one of my favorite characters in any video game ever. He's just a fucking whale of a time. We should, if you guys have both played it, we should do a spoiler cast when I'm done. So I think it's definitely like trodden ground, but I would love to dig into it a little bit more.
I think played
personally
that back
for me
in the day when it like first came out, before I knew anything.
And so that would maybe be an interesting contrast as well. I think I will say there are limitations to the RPG Maker style sort of basic top-down RPG format. I think it does hold it back in some respects. At the same time, it elevates it a little bit. Like, it definitely feels every bit the indie effort that it is. And I think there's a certain charm to that in the setup. I'm liking it a lot overall. See if that holds through. Another game I've started, although I've not played loads of it, is Remnant from the Ashes for PC.
Yeah.
Alex and I started a very brief, very ill-fated attempt at a co-op run of that. Our versions of the game didn't seem to want to overlap properly.
No.
And we were both quite short on time when we did it, so we never came back to it. As someone who's not really played Dark Souls games, I can kind of see the Dark Souls influence in it. In the camp checkpointy things, the limited health revives that replenish when you charge them up and respawn all the enemies again. The gunplay is pretty good. I've gone with the mid-range, I think it is. So I've got like a carbine type thing and a repeater pistol.
Oh, that's the way to go.
Along with the melee side of things. I like it. I like it a lot. I think the story's a bit guff, albeit it's early days and it could open up massively maybe. But the
don't hold your breath.
No, fair enough. It's a good job that the moment to moment stands up in that case. The gunplay is lots of fun. All your weapons feel weighty and impactful. You feel just the right amount of slow to where like the dodge rolls and the impact of it all feels right. It's maybe a little bit on the cartoony side, a little bit on the fast and loose there. Overall, I do like it. This is one I'm probably going to be prioritizing over the next few weeks just because it's taking up like 40 gigs of space on my hard drive. So that needs clearing sooner rather than later. Might be my SSD. I can't remember where I installed it. Wherever it is, I need to not have it installed anymore as soon as I possibly can. Yeah, and then the last game to talk about, and this is one that Alex has also been playing, so we'll talk about it together and segue through to it, is Live Alive on Switch. I've not played loads of it, but what I've played, I really, really like. Is that how you're feeling as well about it, Alex?
Yeah, I'm like a little bit mixed on it.
Okay.
I really like it. Like, it's quite good. I played the prehistoric one first, which is cute, but didn't really grab me that much. I actually sort of bounced in and off. Then I played the West one, which I loved. That one was dope. And
that one's a high point.
Yeah, I'm in the Japan one now, which is stupid. Because it's the stealth one, and I'm afraid that there's no fucking stealth mechanic. It's hold a button and pretend you're not there. Like, that's not fucking stealth. You know?
It's proper like what's the time, Mr. Wolf time thing, isn't it? Where
exactly.
like, yeah.
So yeah, where you just like, you're like, okay, I'm hidden and now they can't see me, and then when I come off, it's like, oh, now they can find me. And so I was like, you know what? Like Cyber mentioned this too. Like there's technically
different
a
endings,
different ending. But I'm like, that's an ending I'm sure as shit gonna look up, because like, also, like, you end up having to face enemies that then you're not powerful enough to fight. So I was just like, fuck this. I'm just going to go blaze through a bunch of enemies, level that character up like massively, and just have a fun time. Because I'm like, whatever, I'm a ninja who's going to go murder. But it actually kind of bounced me off it for a little bit. I think also it's so funny because like in the West one, they have milk, right? Which for a second I was like, oh, is this that like old localization thing where it's like they turned milk instead of like alcohol? But then you go and you play, because I played like the boxing one, which is basically just a boss rush, the martial arts
present day one, yeah.
And I start that up, and then this one's just like, "Hey, fuck you, you motherfucker! I'm gonna kick your ass!" And like straight up, just like that. The only one that's like kind of beeped is the fucker. Everything else is just like, "You little shithead! I'm gonna send you right to hell!" And I was like, holy crap. Like it feels so like, it's fine, but it feels so funny, right? Like, because you realize like as I'm playing it, I was like, oh, is this why the game didn't come out back in the day? Because it's like body and like vulgar as shit and stuff, and they were probably just like, I don't know. But I do love the idea of this game, because it's like a bunch of games in one, right? Like you basically get to play a bunch of different games with a similar combat system, and that combat system is really fun.
It's strong, yeah, and it's even though it's quite an old one, it still feels quite fresh in its approach, because particularly with all the different characters, you have different movesets in every different one, and they're all different tile ways. You have this ATB setup, and there's weaknesses and vulnerabilities. I think it's probably the weaker part of it for me.
Yeah.
In terms of where I'm at, I played the demo first of all, so I played a little bit of the Distant Future campaign, the one with the little cube. And I played a little bit of the China campaign, which is then what I went on to play fully when I got the full game. And I've just started the prehistory campaign. I've lost track of whatever point I was trying to make there. Oh, the combat system. Yeah, I for me, the story side of things is where it's been stronger. I think in that sort of 2 or 3 hour window per campaign, it makes way more sense to be able to tell a more concise narrative that way and then move on. And, obviously at the end, it's probably all going to tie together somehow.
Yeah.
The China campaign is really, really strong. I actually really, really enjoyed it. It's an interesting setup where you play as like a max level character who's then got to take on students and build them up. And there's like a Rocky style training montage thing in the middle where you're fighting them again and again, and they're gradually learning your moves. Really cool setup. And the impression I get, even when it falls flat, like with the Japan campaign, the idea is that because it's a load of smaller things that come together for a cohesive whole, it's an opportunity to play around with what's possible within that setup as a video game. Probably more so a thing when they were coming at it at the time it originally came out. But even post Octopath and, you know, in the early 2020s, it feels like a worthwhile endeavor. Also worth saying, like, they've really put some work into refreshing this. Like,
it is so beautiful.
I thought they just, you know, pulled the sprites and then waxed them on like 3D backgrounds on. But you go and look at the original 94 game versus the one that we have in 2022. It's night and day. And apparently they've neatened up things about the combat as well, as like completely redoing all the sprites and like a whole different UI. You can save anywhere. It's a real nice package. Probably how like you would remember that game being.
Yeah.
And then you'd go and play and you're like, shit, that did no, my rose tinted glasses were firmly affixed in my brain.
Well, it's actually why, like, I saw the new, like, Tactor's Ogre is getting a remake kind of thing, right? And
albeit it looks almost indistinguishable from the PSP release. Like the new audio is probably the thing that would sell it because the orchestral score sounds phenomenal. Or but the bits they've released do.
Yeah, that's why I looked at it and I went, it's not 2D HD. You can go suck a dick. I'm not playing it. You know, like I was like,
and also,
it's by Square.
Why not give us a new one?
I know.
Why not give us a new one?
I know why.
Money. I know. Yeah. We know why, but also like why?
I actually don't think it's even just that. I think it's that you had Triangle Strategy this year. You have Diofield Chronicle coming out. True. And you've got Tactor's Ogre. So I'm pretty sure they're just like I'm not going to complain because I'm like, listen, they've given us so many tactics games this year that I'm like, thank you. It's all just thank you. I won't say anything. Thank you. But I do now.
Flip side, they've also kind of sent it out to die. Like
Tactics Ogre, yeah. But I also think I don't know though. Anyway, sorry. This is all businessy stuff. But I have a feeling that they'll recoup whatever they put into it because I don't think they put a lot into it.
Yeah, on the one hand, sure. But then on the other hand, like these games are often testing the waters for new entries in the franchise.
Yes.
But why would you do that by putting it in such a crowded space there? It makes no sense.
But did this game ever...
It's really annoying because I would love another Tactics Ogre.
Yeah, I don't feel like those games they were never critical, like they were critical darlings, but not commercial darlings. I mean, not that tactics games have ever been commercial darlings.
Well, I mean, Triangle Strategy did pretty well, right?
I don't know. I think it's doing well right now, but let's be real, comparatively to other genres. Like even when Fire Emblem does amazing, it does very poorly compared to everything else. But not that matters. They're great and we love them. Give me more tactics games. I'll buy them.
But yeah, I mean, the point is like Live Alive is a proper step up. Like they really did.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about.
Just to bring it back.
Just to reel it back in. I
think lengthwise it's cool as well. Like overall, it seems like about a 20-hour package. And another thing that the structure does really nicely is that China campaign. Like I finished over a couple of days, and it felt like I've really achieved something. But then there's more of the game to go, and it's a much nicer cadence for me. I think RPGs can often get very, very stodgy and lengthy. I definitely felt that with The Witcher. The other way,
Octopath
I know
Traveler.
You didn't like it. Which interesting full circle thing I think we mentioned previously, because it feels like Octopath was trying to do what Live Alive did 2D HD, and then it's sort of come full circle thing. But like, I know you didn't like it, but to cut the other way, Cosmic Star Heroine, like a 12-hour RPG that knows what it needs to be, doesn't pad itself out. I think Live Alive is that taken to the extreme, and I think it's all the better for it.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I didn't dislike Cosmic Star Heroine. I just was like, I had my fill. That's more what it is. Because I do agree with you. I think it's a good game. But I'm just like, you know how it is sometimes? You just hit a game and you're like, I got what I needed.
I don't want to finish you. Yeah.
Yeah, I got what I came for. Yeah, yeah. But I do agree with you. It sort of feels a little bit like I would love to actually like read or learn more about the development of Live Alive, because it feels like it almost feels like they held a game jam in their like offices or some shit, and we're like, hey, this is the combat thing, what can you make with it? And then like, you know, companies pitched or some shit, and we're like, or like, you know, develop like within it, and we're like, this one, because it was made by all little different teams, right? And like, I love that idea of like, because after each one you get a little credits, and I'm like, man, I would just love if companies, but of course it's risky, right? But I would love if companies just were like, hey, we have this core mechanic, everyone take it, make something fun with it, and let's just put them together afterwards. And like, it's kind of like the 10-minute games collections and things, right?
When are they doing another? I need more 10 milligrams in my life.
Yeah.
Or like the guild games when Level 5 did those to the 3DS.
Yeah.
And so many bangers came out of that as well. I love that idea as an initiative, just like pulling a few smaller things together. There's another company as well, like Super Rare Games, I think it is. They did like indie mixtapes. Totally different idea. It's just where they've like curated a list. But I do think like, not an anthology thing so much, but like a big group of smaller games, I think there's merit to that. And like you say, it's not something that's done in Earth.
There's a horror collection thing like that. I just got one that I want to do. It's like Dread something, I think, and they're basically like collections of horror games that are just made for these collections. Dread X, is it, or something?
Sorry, Alex, can you just say horror one more time for me, please?
Horror? What?
Horror.
Yeah,
Sorry,
I'm from Canada. Yeah. You're horror. But I'm
horror.
Horror. Talk
I
horror.
can't believe you've done this.
That's good. It's horrifying. All right. Anyway, I'm careful. I'm going to start trying to imitate you, and then you're going to really hate that. Anyway, the Dread X collection. There's like there's 5 of them, and they're just a bunch of horror games that are like.
Oh, I love your English. It feels like Noel Fielding as an owl.
I got that reference. Sorry, that made my dog come running.
Paula's just here like, I'm just happy to be involved.
Like, yeah, what's going on? I don't understand.
Everyone's having a good
No
time.
idea what just happened.
Fuck. Man, actually, sorry. You bring up Noel Fielding is great because, like, as a kid and in Canada, I don't know why, but the Mighty Boosh really broke through in Canada. Like when YouTube hit, like Greg and the boot thing, that fucking went wild when I was a kid. Oh god. Anyway, no, that's great. All right, and I was just doing Bake Off, but anyway, Dread X. It's good stuff. Live alive. Oh god, I'm gonna see live alive. Live alive.
Video games. Alex, tell us about the other ones you've been playing.
Yeah, sure. Here we go.
Let's try to get this back on track right now.
I don't even have much actually. I have like 2 seconds, then we're gonna jump into the topic because I don't know why I've been so slow with Ace Attorney Investigations 2 Prosecutor's Path. It's really good. It's just like you gotta kind of sit down and play that game, right? Because it's a novel, frankly. Super lovely. But I'm still in the second case. I haven't got out of it yet. I've been really slow, which I'm going to blame a certain game on after in a second. So, Paula, it's your fault. It's your fault that I'm playing the game and that I'm not playing the game.
This game.
Exactly. I also, again, we talked about Live Alive. I also picked up one of these other like puzzle games. It's called Glass Masquerade. It's really pretty. It's like stained glass jigsaw puzzles. And it's really cool. And you like travel the world and they're like in weird positions. You can kind of drag them and fit them in on the Switch. And it's really neat. And I got it for like $2. But like, I just was struck by that there's 2 of them. And I was just struck by the visuals of it. I was like, man, that's like really, I don't know. Just like, I thought it was really, really stunning looking. And I wanted to try it out. And I have. And I like it. So if you like jigsaw puzzles, then pick them up. They're cool. Might be on PC. Probably better on PC actually because you can drag them, moving around. But they've got touch control, so it's fine. All right. Stomach hurts now. Let's see here. We have come finally to our big old topic for today, which is Paula won. our last round of how long to beat the game, and we ran a poll, and it was between Code Realize, right, Shin Megami Tensei 4 and Age of Empires 4, and fortunately, Age of Empires 4 won, and I'm fucking obsessed. So, we're gonna talk about this a little bit, but Paula, why don't you start by just like telling us a little bit about your gaming adventures over the last bit with Age of Empires 4?
Oh my god, I've been playing so much of this game. Should I do a little introduction to the game before I rant my little heart out over this? So Age of Empires 4 is the fourth installment in the in Microsoft flagship franchise that is Age of Empires. Age of Empires is an RTS series where you pretty much instead of like in Warcraft 3 on Starcraft, you have like different species or races. Here you have like civilizations of like, you have the Rust, you have the Holy Roman Empire, you have Delhi, you have Abbasid, etc. So you have French too, English, and Mongols and Abbasid.
Yeah, you got them all.
And Chinese, sorry.
Chinese, yeah, 8.
Yeah, you have 8 on this game. The very particular thing about this entry in the series is that each civilization is kind of like very asymmetric. In the sense of you have something like that's special about it, instead of just having different modifiers to certain units. That was like more or less what happened in the previous entries. So, for example, and I have the page here, the Ras have a little particular thing that whenever they kill like wild animals, they get like extra money. They also have like hunting cabins. They have warrior monks that are like their religious unit, and they're like the only religious unit that goes on horseback. And they have an unique technology that is, for example, the castle turret increases the damage of arrows fired from the wooden fortresses. And that is a unique improved outpost that is like pretty much like a little tower that you have. And I could go on and on between all the civilizations. For example, the main one that I play is the Holy Roman Empire, that usually is like good with infantry, but also they have like a very strong cavalry. But their thing is the infantry. They also have like their special religious unit like very early in the game. That's the prelate, and they can use their prelates like to boost their economy, and so on and so forth. And they also have access to what's arguably one of the best economic landmarks of the game, that is the Ancient Chapel, which it generates like 4 times more gold from a relic than if you put a relic into the like monastery that is like the usual place where you put your relics. And they have like other bonuses like that come from relics. The Chinese is a fucking nightmare to play because you are able to build both landmarks, because in this game, to go from one age to another, you build a landmark instead of like just pressing the advanced age button on your town center. And in particular, the Chinese also has these things called dynasties.
Yeah. Your boyfriend's
and
like
they
real
also
good at
have
those too.
extra micro. Yeah. Oh my god. And they have like different like I guess extra things that, or extra bonuses depending on which dynasty you are. And they also have imperial officials which collect taxes and can supervise buildings to make everything go faster.
Yeah.
Oh my god. We're halfway there. The English and the French are like the 2 most easiest civilizations to play. The English are like centered around Longbowman, which, by the way,
and
they can really wreck your shit. Yep. And they're like really defensive because you can set up like a bonfire to heal your units, or like you can set up like these, I don't know if stick stances, whatever, but they can like just barricade themselves so you can't charge them
Palisades,
with
I think.
horseman. Yeah, palisades. Thank you. And then you go to the French, and they are like all cavalry, like very aggressive in general.
French are the bomb. Because I'm playing the shit out of the French. French are like super aggressive. Like Paula showed me these this like YouTuber who like did these like build orders, and like his kind of joke was like, oh, the French, you just build knights, and like he's not wrong. You basically just you build freaking royal knights and you kick the shit out of people. Like the thing with them that's so scary about it is like the French in particular can trap you in the feudal age, because there's like the 4 ages, right? And like they're so aggressive that and what I've been learning is like if you're good at like micromanaging and like managing everything and like bouncing back and forth across your map, if you can be aggressive with them while still building up your they're so fucking hard to beat. Like even in like pro play, they win like 50% of the time, which is pretty wild, honestly.
Yeah, the French are like very annoying in particular. Though there's also a guide to beat the French as the Holy Roman Empire. So I gotta watch that.
I mean, the nice thing is that you can beat every group with everyone, right? Like there are advantages, but I do think it's like a well balanced game, fortunately.
I mean, there's more on that later.
Yeah, fair.
Because there has been some patches and some civilizations have suffered more than others.
Yeah.
In particular, I think Mongols were like going downhill, and Delhi Sultanate too.
Well, Mongols have just shot back up, I think. Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
Mongols are number 1 now in the pro rankings for like win-ins, because they got like a free guru or something. I can't remember what it is. One of their
Yeah. I just remembered. Yeah, they got their free building that serves as like a collecting point for any resource.
But in like our level of play, I don't think they're very good. I think you have to be really good to play really well as them.
Yeah, Mongols are like one of the more complicated things to play as. So is Delhi Sultanate, because if I remember correctly, playing as Delhi Sultanate, you have the scholar, and all your your researches are free, but you have to boost like the speed of the researches with the scholar because it is a lot slower. And also, if I remember correctly, the Delhi have war elephants, which, by the way, they can wreck your shit real quick if you're not prepared with spearman or something like that. And they're like siege units. Yeah, I had quite a hard time against Delhi, but when in the end, more on that later.
Yeah, when there's you trounced also me.
It was an accident in the sense of we weren't supposed to be on different teams. It just happened.
And then we were not.
And then we were not. Then we have the Mongols, which, by the way, they have... First of all, they can move their buildings because they are nomads. But because of the same point, they can't really like fortify their defenses, so they have to play a little bit more aggressive. And they have the Khan, that it's pretty much like a special scout that they get and respawns if they die. And they also have mounted archers, which never stop firing even if they're moving. So they have like very interesting units over there. Finally, we have which have I not talked about yet? The Abbasid dynasty. Yeah. And the Abbasid their special unit is the camel. And that is pretty much an cavalry, anti-cavalry unit. And they can give bonuses. I think it was defense bonuses to the army by just having them around. So they're like pretty useful. And the other special thing that they have is that instead of building like multiple landmarks, they have just one that is the House of Wisdom, and they build wings to it, and like the military wing or the economy wing, and they age up that way. And I think that would be like all 8 civilizations in a nutshell.
It's kind of wild because even just
Yep.
hearing you talk about these, I'm realizing like I know still basically nothing about most of the other ones, right? Because like I've just I've focused so intensely on
On the French.
on the French, right? Which like again, you kind of have to, I think. Like I don't know. I find it's quite difficult in this game. Like you kind of got to stick to something. Like to give some context, I beat the mastery. So they have like there's like 10 things that you can do to get mastery of a civilization, which I admit some of it is like, it's not great. Like they make you do a mastery one per game. You can't get more, which I think is kind of bullshit. And honestly, and it feels like it extends it a little more. And I have to say, some of the masteries are also kind of busted. One of the French ones, I had to accrue gold using a guild hall, which is a landmark. Or accrue gold or wood or whatever from it, and it didn't work a lot. And like the only way I got it to work was by like collecting right away on it, and then letting it go and collecting again when it had over 2,000, and then I got the mastery. But like I had gotten it before, and it didn't anyway. It's just, and like I was in the proper age and everything, and I was like, I did everything right. Why didn't I get it? So there's weird things like that. But at the end, the last thing that you do is like play the AI on the hardest difficulty, and I played 30 hours at this point before getting that. And to be fair, I did also play some of the campaign, but only the first like campaign mission, the Norman one, which the campaign's really fun. But like, I now feel like I am adequate as the French. Like I can beat the hardest AI now as the French, and I can beat them pretty handily as well. Like it was like, the match that I won, I was pretty proud of. Like, it didn't even feel like I was playing against a hardest because I was like really pushing them and pressuring them. But I also know that if I were to switch to another class, I would fucking die on the hardest difficulty because I don't have any knowledge of how they work. And like, they're all really intricate. And they all require a lot of like knowledge and understanding of like build orders and like how to really get out there. And even like, I think maybe if we have time after, I might play Paula in a game because I'm curious to see how I do now, because I still don't feel like I'm as good as you or not even close to Felipe. Paula's boyfriend is fucking amazing at this, by the way. Like Paula is really good. I have to say, like, first off, she's really good. Like, she trounced me when I was playing. And Felipe is like even better, which is crazy. Because like when I saw Paula play, I was like, she's so good. And like, Paula, you've won fucking ranked matches and shit. Like, you're like silver or something, right? Like, does Felipe even play in ranked?
Silver one.
Because I don't think he does
he? He's not playing in rank, but I'm telling him he should because I cannot beat him.
Yeah, he kick ass. Like, I'm just like, he's quite good at this game, and like, because he plays Chinese, right?
Yeah.
And he's good as that.
He went complicated. Yep.
Yeah, but there's benefits too to that. Like, if you go complicated and you know what you're doing, it's like, whoa. Like, I think realistically, I think one of the reasons why I can even do pretty well is like picking the French is a good call, I think, as a starting, because as long as you're adept enough, you can end the games pretty quick. And I think that's where things are at their best, because where it breaks down for me is having to really strategize in a long game. It's fucking hard, like if you have to really draw it out, because now you're dealing with so much other shit and you're really like, okay, what units do I have to prioritize? Like, oh God, what do I do? It can fall apart really fast, but if you can keep it quick and decisive, you've got yourself something good. Like for me, honestly, if you get into the Imperial Age, I'm dead. If I'm playing against like another player, like if it's the AI, whatever, I fucking trounce them. But at this point now, I'm at the point where I'm a little sad because I'm like, shit, The AI is not going to give me a challenge, but I can't win against other people.
You're in that horrible gap in the middle.
Yeah, right. Where I just have to play
Yeah.
against others to get better. But yeah, I'm excited for Rick for you to start trying.
Do you know what? I didn't realize quite how big the install was. I went to install it while you guys were talking about the different classes. I was like, sweet baby Jesus.
Yeah.
So I think once I've finished Remnant, which is going to be soon, then I can put Age of Empires in the space that mostly clears up.
Also, double check though, because the install, there's like a 4K HDR video pack that is optional, and it might be asking you to install that.
Yeah.
I didn't install it because like my monitor is 1440, so I was like, no, and it's just
I'm 1080p on my laptop. Yeah, it would be pointless.
Yeah, it will save you like 30 gigabytes easily.
Yeah. You muted yourself, bro.
Oh, oops. In which case, yeah, I probably have the room to, assuming that's not on top of. Let's have a look.
I don't even remember how.
No, I think the yeah, holy moly. So the 4K video pack version is another 50 gigs on top of what I'd already seen.
How much is how big is the install? I don't even remember. I just
base installs like 82 gigabytes.
82, oh my
the
God.
4K version is 135.
Yeah, it's such a good game though. It's so good. I'm so fucking into this game. And like Paula's introduced me now to like casts and stuff. Like watching was it Ozzy Drongo, who's like awesome to watch and very fun. Yeah, and like
that's what that was. I saw in the little 4-person thing we've got with Felipe. You just typed Aussie_Drongo. I was like, that must just be a joke that I missed. That's a YouTuber. Okay.
No,
okay.
He's super cool and like honestly really useful. Like I feel like I've learned a lot just by watching him. Like because he does play-by-plays of games. Like he'll watch the replays or he'll live cast, right? Like as the game's happening. It's super, super cool to watch because you get this real sense of like, and watching like pro players play, damn, man. It's like they're doing 600 things at once because like you're watching sometimes and you're just like, well, how are they over there doing that? Like you can't automate the scouts or anything. And they're just like, no.
It's all macros though, isn't it? Yeah. But they're moving like StarCraft, right? Like where it's actions per minute. And unless you can hit a mega high number, no matter how smart you are, like it's just not going to happen.
Yeah, I've been really upping my APMs, which is a new thing to learn because like I've been doing a lot of keyboard shortcuts and stuff. So now I can jump across the map like that. Right?
Yeah,
I'm just like going through, and so like I'm able to like what was really nice in the hardest AI, and this is why I think it made me be able to win was that I was able to like, you know, I could 1 minute be off fighting with my guys, and then it's just like in a split second I'm back. Okay, set up the economy back, right? Just like bing, 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 going like that. So it's like it feels a little wild at some points because you're just like holy shit. But like once you've got those like hotkeys going and like really you're using your keyboard, like that's where I found the thing that I have to get better at is actually the shortcuts for the buildings because something I've done is that the fucking houses are right above the fucking farms. And the amount of times that I've accidentally hit the houses and built a house and I'm not even thinking, right? Because like you get automated, right? Like you get to a point where you're just like, you have to just knock them out because you can't think. You have to just
constantly spinning plates and putting out fires.
Yeah. And then you fuck up. And at one point I look and I've got a fucking lumber mill and I have all the houses I need, but I built them around a fucking mill. I'm like, what did I do? But anyway, it ended up actually working out for me in the end, so it didn't matter. But yeah, I don't know. RTSs are wild, man.
The way you've gotten into it has gotten me excited. I'll say that much.
I've had a blast.
Curious, excited, slightly terrified.
Well, Paula just anyway. Tell us more about what you've been doing, Paula.
Well, so I've been playing a lot of multiplayer, trying to get a little bit better, especially because I got the full mastery with the Holy Roman Empire. So I started ranking, which, by the way, I somehow won like just one of the ranking matches and got into bronze 3 right away. And after a couple more matches, I got into silver 1, which, yay, me, could have gone me. And I was actually quite proud of one of the matches because my enemy was the French, and they just went and that asshole built my red palace like right outside my base. but I was like in like economically at a comfortable place where I could just build siege and counterattack and somehow won the game.
Nice.
Somehow. I'm still like, how the hell did that happen? But
probably got
it
overconfident
happened.
once he got the palace out there, because like he probably just assumed that's it, right? Like game over.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that happened. Oh, for those not in the know, the Red Palace just shoots arrows like nobody's business. It's like keep but on the steroids.
And if you garrison people in it, it's like fucking over, and you can like get cannons.
Yeah.
And shit. Yeah.
You never fight under the Red Palace. Never. Like that's the one way to lose a game.
Mountain Pass, Red Palace, right in the middle.
Oh no, that would be that would do it. The other thing is that I almost got what's the name of it? Sacred Side victory, but just 2 minutes before I got it, because you have to defend all sacred sites for like 10 minutes. Just like under 2 minutes, I got wrecked. Like the guy came and took the sacred site, one of the sacred sites away from me, and I couldn't really defend from there. And I ended up losing that match. But that was one very interesting match. And I also had to play against an AI to be able to build a wonder, because hell no, that's not gonna happen in a multiplayer match.
Oh god, no. The amount of resources you need to build a wonder, yeah.
You need 6,000 of each resource, and I think I used up all the stone I have like on my side of the map and just had to buy the rest of the stone.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, the market is quite underrated. Like when you're playing like on one-on-one matches, because there are like markets spread across the land, and you can just trade with, I guess, the computer or just like neutral places. But the other thing is that you can just buy your way to Imperial.
Yeah.
If you have like enough people on food or other resources.
The French is interesting too, because the French traders can trade any resource, which I've actually found sometimes when I'm playing in a game and I have like suddenly I'm losing a lot of resources, or like I've exhausted some of them. It's just like, all right, well, I'm gonna get my traders to get for the one that I need. And suddenly it's just like, I got a ton more now, you know?
Oh, that's very nice. And I'm trying to think like the other thing. Yeah, I haven't like properly like looked at the build order for French, but I'm starting to play French because I thought that maybe playing a more aggressive civilization would, oh my god, the hiccups, will make me like I would be more able to play more aggressive with the HRE.
Yeah.
Because it's when I was playing Link of Legends and someone told me, hey, play Tiamat because you have to be like frontline all the time and fighting like under towers and stuff like that. And at that time, since I was a newbie, I was like almost avoiding fights, and it was like, no, play this character because that way you will get used to playing in this style.
It's so tempting to avoid fights, right? Because you're like, you get nervous. You're like, I don't want to lose units. But then, like, that's what I've actually found playing as the French, is that I feel like maybe early new player instincts is often to like stay hidden, build your shit, right? And like you trying to like mass things up. But then, like, well, yeah, like you said, when you play as the French, it's like, no. Actually, you have to be going and attacking all the time and learn how to retreat and how to select just the units you need, how to protect other ones, how to, you know, and like, and not be greedy, right? It's really interesting. But like once you figure it out, and I by no means am a master at this yet, but once you kind of have that like knowledge, I feel like it really unlocks other parts of the game. But I need to learn how to be defensive. Maybe I'll play the English at some point.
Yeah. And the other thing that has been changing ever since like the last patch is that developers want games to stay on feudal like a little bit more, because right now it's like half of the civilizations are trying to get to castle, and the other half are trying to prevent that. So it's like watching like someone like hitting their head against the wall for like the first, I don't know, 5 to 8 minutes, depending on what civ you're playing. So it is more interesting to see like those like early skirmishes between the units, and it is more fun to spectate and try to combat your way out of a situation and try to do your thing regardless.
I've also learned how. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, like when you mentioned those early skirmishes, those like I've started to realize, like, I think sometimes you feel like, oh, whatever, if I lose a unit or two here, not a big deal. But man, those early trades and losses can spell this like complete doom for you if you're not careful, right? Like I remember I was playing against you when we were doing that game, and at one point I remember losing units of this, and I was like, oh shit, I think I just lost. Like I had this moment where I was like, oh no, that's it. Like I lost too many, especially if you're playing as a civ that has like, you know, high value units that also cost a lot. It's like if you lose too many to somebody, you're kind of fucked, because now they have all of this time while you're trying to build up your army again to just fortify or like increase. And it's just, yeah, man, it's like those can be so decisive. It feels like they're not important, but like, man, they can be really important if you're playing against someone like, you know, who you know is like fucking good and knows how to capitalize it, right? Which is what was the case when I was playing against you. I was like, shit, I fucked up. It's over.
And that's the magic when you get good enough that those tiny details can swing the pendulum one way or the other, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Oh, it's so good. I gotta stop playing it eventually though, because fuck.
No, join us, one of us, rank with us.
Maybe it's up. Actually, you know what? Okay, maybe that'll be a goal. I would like to try and win a ranked badge. I think that would be pretty fun.
That would be interesting. And what else? Oh, yep. And I was trying to think, like, one of the things that the French have against the Holy Roman Empire is that the French are like very aggressive early on, but the Holy Roman Empire is one of those ships that want to get like to castle as fast as possible.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can get to Imperial like in 14 minutes. I don't know if that's enough to like keep you off my lane.
In 14 minutes? Yeah, I mean, I can be out in but see, you know what? The interesting with Knights is that it's actually not that the end of the world if the other one gets into castle. That's not the end of the world, right? Because you can pepper in and really annoy. But I think what's fun and I think what's interesting is that there's a risk reward against French, right? Because like I think if you're playing against them, and you know because you've played a little bit, is that if they're being really aggressive, you can kind of try and hunker down and castle. But if you hunker down too much, they're just gonna have a fucking army ready to go. You know, like it's like there's this trade-off of like you got to be good at defending. I really think what it comes down to being good at using your military, right? Because I think that's the big thing against playing against French or any aggressive civ is like you got to know how to defend against them, and the person you're playing against has to make some fucking mistakes, which is what happens. You know, and
just that happens.
I would say is not unlikely. When it comes to playing against me, I'll probably make a mistake. I also got to get good at figuring out where the fuck my buildings are sometimes. I like lose the blacksmith all the time. I'm like, where did I put my blacksmith?
Yeah, that happens a lot. Oh my god, if I'm gonna the other day that I was trying to play as French, it was like, hey, my buildings look different. What the hell was this? I know this one is the cavalry building because it has horses, but where the fuck is the infantry building?
I know, right? I always know the archery one because I'm like, I can see the red dot. That's the archery. I can see the horse. That's my stable. All right, here we go. But then also, I don't even click them because there's good hotkeys for the military buildings that are way easier. And so I just use those. I'm just like, bam, bam, bam. I'm like, give me these keys. I've stopped clicking. I've tried to reduce my clicking.
Yeah, I need to learn how to use those hotkeys. I've got a couple down. I need like 10 more to go.
Yeah, they're so vital, and I still don't think I use them enough. But like each game, I'm trying to master another hotkey. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm like, okay, I got that one. Now I'm gonna get this one. I'm gonna add this one. I gotta say, like I think we talked about this. I don't know now, or I might have been talking with you and Felipe or something. It's the most sport-like game I've played in a long time, which I know like competitive like multiplayer games online are a lot like that. I just don't really play them much, and I can't really play FPSs anymore. But there's something about this that feels different because, yeah, you do have to be really precise, but it's a lot more about the tactical strategy and like keeping it all in your head. And I get it. Like, it's really satisfying to play a game and know that like you built everything right, fucking made good moves, and just like did a good job and like held that all within your brain, as you went through. Like, there is this like satisfying feeling of just, you're like, I did that. I'm good. It feels good, you're like, damn. And then you get humbled, which is actually nice, because then you lose a match and you're like, fuck, right, okay, well, not good enough yet though. How do I get better? It's a little bit like the Neon White and like the speed running thing, like when we were playing. Like, there's this like, the competitive edge is fun. And again, I like that I've been able to play with you and Felipe as well, and then play against you a little bit, and even just playing against the AI, it's like incrementally getting better. And you know what? Okay, that's it. That's what the issue is. The difference between more like competitive FPSs and whatnot is that in those, I feel like you start and you get fucked right away, right? And you can't really practice, because there's only like, I don't know, like, the campaign, but the campaign's not even anything like what it's going to actually be like to play. But then in something like an RTS and like Age of Empires 4, it's like, well, you have skirmishes and you have these masteries, so you have things to go towards as you're playing, and you can actually, work your way up from easy, intermediate, hardest, to the point where hardest now feels easy. And then you actually realize it's like, I have gradually gotten very good at this. And now I can go in and play, and I'm not just going to get wiped right away. I might still get beaten, but I'm going to probably know why I got beaten. Right? And like, that to me, and then the fact that they save all your replays and shit too, like you can go and replay and see how you lost, right? It's amazing. Like, I don't know. I remember Age of Empires 3 was kind of a black mark. I know some people really liked it, but
that's a black sheep.
Yeah, but this one, it just feels tight and just good. And I know there's still not as many players in this, because Age of Empires 2 will forever be, and they re-released like 2019, right? Like the not Reforged, but something, right? Like they redid like another version.
Warcraft 3, is it, you mean Reforged?
Yeah, Warcraft 3 is Reforged, but the Age of Empires 2, they did like a remastered or whatever.
Oh, I see.
2019, yeah. So there's still,
that rings a bell, yeah.
Just so many players in that one. But that's also why I think I like 4 more right now, because there are kind of less players, but it kind of also means that, like, I think no one's been playing this game for a decade. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
it's not too late to get in. Yeah,
right? Like, we're only in the second season right now of the game. And with the second season, things have changed, right? And even that, Paula introducing me to, like, was it Beastly Cutie? Yeah, he's funny. I like him. Like, he's doing things talking about season 2, and suddenly I'm like, oh my god, like, I get it. Like, I understand more of these like communities of players as well. And from what I've seen so far, it seems like the Age of Empires, like, Pro and like even just like communities seem pretty chill. So I'm like, it's been pretty fun. So
in general,
I'm fully converted to the PC world.
Yeah.
Do we miss anything? What else you got there, Paula?
I don't know. Besides like watching cast games, and I think we already touched on that a little bit with Aston Django and Beastie Cutie.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you have to watch the Plastic League. The Plastic League games, because they're like so stupid, because Beastie Cutie just like goes and says like, okay, who's the lowest ranking player in this whole game, in this whole season? And it's like, okay, let's watch a match between that guy and the second worst guy in the game. And it's like, like,
nice.
I know I shouldn't laugh about people learning the ropes with the game, but these are people that have been playing actively in that tier.
Okay, so they're like, you're like, you come on,
Yeah.
Someone has to be the worst, right?
Yeah, but there are like some really good games that they cast, and the guides that Beastie Cutie offers and all civilizations are like very good. So for anyone who is getting into the game, go watch Citron, go watch VCQT, because that will make your life so much fucking easier
Yeah,
than if you
seriously.
try to get better alone.
Like honestly, it feels like a cheat code, but just so that you understand it more. Like I recommend Rick, you like choose a civ and just pick one of their guides, and it's like so great. Yeah, I hope actually community, please join us if any of you play Age of Empires 4. It'd be great to play some games against anyone in the community because it's just fucking fun. Or we can play together against AI.
Yeah.
That's also fine. Although Paula, you and I, we should definitely play against the hardest at some point too, because I want to.
Yeah, we need to do that. Also, we need to play the four of us, including Felipe, because that would be interesting. I don't know if you want to play like all of us against the AI or like split 2 and 2.
I feel like I have no idea what would be a fair split in that, because Felipe's team. Hey, can we do 3 against Felipe?
3 against
I am
Felipe
also
sounds
very
about
much a
right.
black box.
And
Like,
Felipe gets
I could
2
be
AI on
amazing.
hard.
I could be very shit.
Yeah,
Like,
we really
it's
don't know.
TBD.
Yeah, I have no idea what you are yet, so we'll have to find out. I would love to play a 4-on-4 though, like us against 4 hardest AI or some shit. I feel like that would be really cool. Though we would probably decimate because all of us together, because even the hardest AI,
There's advantages there, right? Like it's a
yeah,
whole thing.
because the thing is, even the hardest AI is not. Well, I don't know, but once you know how to play, they're not that hard, right?
It's a thing with a lot of
Yeah.
competitive games like that, right? Like the AI only works up to a certain point, and after that, like you're always going to know things to work around it that just don't apply when you're facing humans.
Yeah,
It's just a reality of the setup. Like there's always going to be a gap there.
because the AI doesn't know optimal strats, right? Like, you know,
No.
they didn't program do this because like there's too many variables, but it's good AI.
Or at least
don't get me wrong.
The version that does, Microsoft haven't let out into the public yet.
Because like I played against the hardest AI. The first time I played, I just surrendered right away because I got like I fucked up and I saw them come right in and I was like, it's over. I saw their thing. So they can be extremely good. But then it's like if you play optimally, they don't feel like they're any good. But that's because you're playing really well, right? So
Yeah.
that's how it should feel. So I don't know. But then again, I do think there are some civs that if I tried to play on the hardest difficulty against, I would probably lose actually, because the one I played against I think was particularly ill-equipped to fight me, because they didn't build any spearmen. I know these knights. Wow, they built them way too late. It was game over, man.
Yeah, that's because the AI doesn't usually like prepare to fight you. Rather, they see what you're fighting them with, and then they build units.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, with people, it can get into like for the chess territory sometimes.
Yeah. Because it usually, I mean, and now I've started to realize, like, when I start playing, I look like, who am I playing against? And that determines my strategy right away, right? Whereas, yeah, the AI is just going to do, like, whatever at first. And then, like you're saying, as you play against it, it starts to learn. It's like, oh, okay, actually, I'm going to change it up. Anyway. Crusaders Kings 3 is next for me, I think. I'm going down on a Grand Strategy RTS well right now, and I'm like, yeah, let's play games! Although, Crusader Kings 3 is a pretty small install, actually. It was like 5 gigs. I was like, what?
Yeah, the depth of that game is not like from sheer assets. It's just from the sheer amount of options available to you. That game looks phenomenal. It also looks fucking terrifying.
See, and this is though, I thought Age of Empires 4 and like RTSs were terrifying too, and then I realized it's like once you get into it, you're like, oh, okay, no, it's not that frightening. You got to practice a little, right? But I don't think I have, 10, 30-hour games left in me. So many. Shit. All right, sorry. I could talk forever about this now. Paula, what have you done?
Hey, one of us. You're next, Rick.
Yeah. We should probably move on though, because we're already hitting like 2 hours. Welcome back, everybody. We were off for a while, and we're chatty folk. Let's turn to how long to beat the game. I think it's Paula's turn.
Agenda seems to suggest so. I'm going to double check last week.
That's what I was about to do too, because I was like, it's been a few weeks, so I don't remember.
It has been a minute.
82. 82 is Rick, so yeah, it is Paula.
Fair dues. Okay.
Or me.
Yeah, give me a minute here.
I've only played
because
one,
I'm trying to pick the game. I wasn't prepared for this.
I wasn't ready.
Where was the random button over here? Yeah, I'm just trying to randomize and like, ooh.
Oh yeah, we went
looks
Alex, Rick,
interesting.
Paula. Alex, Rick, Paula. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we did it a different way around this time, right?
Because Paula won.
Yeah, I think so too. Okay, let's go. No, we're not going. We're not doing World of Warcraft: The Burning Crusade.
300 hours.
Yeah, I'm trying to
Oh,
pick a
gosh.
game that I know that maybe you haven't played like recently,
Oh, I like
but
that.
I don't. Yeah, I'm trying. Okay, what is no? We shouldn't. No.
Oh, but I kind of
Okay,
want to now that you said that.
Like I was just pressing on random, and there's a game called Loot Apocalypse. Okay, what the hell is this? It's a game about zombie viruses, love, sex, and evil corporations. You have to force your way to safety through lots of zombies. Yep. I'm just gonna go with this meme of a game.
Remind me, what's it called again?
It's called Loot Apocalypse. Everything together and with all caps.
Lewd Apocalypse, all caps. My God, I'm gonna
All
research
caps.
this in an incognito.
Amazing. What platform is it on?
Yeah, let me check real quick. What the fuck is this? No pun intended.
There's no way this isn't on. This isn't like just on PC. Like it has to only be a PC game.
It says Steam.
Oh wow, yeah, you have to be logged into Steam to view it. It says, like, it won't even let me look at it in the browser. I think it might be filth.
I'm certain.
Yeah,
it's
it might be
filth.
filth.
Not that the not that the
yeah.
name was much of a giveaway.
Okay, so we have. I haven't even looked at the picture because I'm so fucking scared.
Gosh, what on earth is this that you found, Paula?
I don't know.
Oh, no. The Steam page just has straight up boobs in the screenshots. What on earth is this? Oh Lord.
There's like certain aspects of like Steam where like you go on and you're just like, oh, that's just porn.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just porn.
I mean that is pretty much what this is. Oh my God, there's GIFs on the store page. They're not okay GIFs. Oh Lord. Okay.
Lewd
I
Apocalypse
shouldn't have
and
picked this. I
Evil.
shouldn't have picked
No,
this.
you absolutely should. I have to read this review.
It's
for you.
overwhelmingly positive.
Simple side scroller shoot 'em up. Pros: funny, simple yet fun gameplay. Story is stupid but funny. Cons: your friends will know.
That's great.
Right, okay. Give us the skinny power. So obviously we're doing the main plus and 100% times. What is your bonus fun time category this time?
I'm trying to think. Okay.
Is this supposed to be?
When was the game last updated?
Okay.
Last updated. Does it say that on the? Oh, okay.
Last updated on the page.
Got you.
On the how long to beat page.
So this is supposed to be like
Okay.
a Resident Evil knockoff, huh? Is that like, or like not even? Knockoff,
I think it's a parody, a dusty parody. I think that's the idea.
Okay, $1.19.
Yeah, I mean the price kind of says it all, doesn't it?
It really does. This is great. Okay. Oh shit! I should probably figure out how long it is though. Sorry, this is so. Oh god.
Or can I change that bonus question?
Next week on
Go on, then.
completions.
Okay. Which percentage of people have retired the game?
Oh, that's got to be, yeah.
That's funny. Does anyone retire this game?
Okay, all my answers are with Paula.
I'm almost there.
Okay, how about you?
So you said retired percentage.
Retired percentage.
Oh, I fucked this up last time. I went way too fucking high. Cannot fuck
Is
this
it
up.
bad that I kind of want to play this game now? For research.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, for academic purposes.
For purely clothed purposes.
I went a lot lower this time because I feel like last time I just really screwed the pooch. I did didn't I do like 20% or something?
God, no. If ever there was a game that's going to be a 20% retirement, I feel like this would be the game.
I just don't feel like it's a long game though. It's $1.19. Like there's no way this game's longer than an hour.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have both of your guesses here. So Alex says that my story is 30 minutes long.
Yeah.
Rick says 1 hour.
Yeah, I feel like that's.
this
is going to be awful. Watch it be like 31 minutes or something gross. Go on.
It's actually 42 minutes. So point
Oh,
to Alex for like 3 minutes.
That's like yeah. I just scraped by there.
Yeah.
I'm definitely buying this game.
Yep.
$1.19. I don't care. My friends know.
What have I done?
Yeah.
There's like the Age of Empires, like, oh, what have I done? But there's like the what have I done here?
Yes. What have I done? Looks like a
done?
Flash game though, from like way back in the day. Anyways.
There's a Newgrounds link number 2. I feel like it is a Flash port.
There's a Newgrounds link.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Oh my god, beautiful. So Alex says 1 hour and 30 minutes for main plus.
Yeah.
Rick says 2 hours, and the point goes to Rick because it is 2.5 hours.
I
was fully ready for that to be like 1 hour 44.
There you go. Rick at 6. I'm at 5.
And for completionist, Rick says 3 hours. Alex says 4.5 hours. And the point goes to Alex because the game is 5.5 hours long. Probably too much game for this.
That sounds like some replay.
There's a specific activity involved in the completion, yeah.
He left the game running.
Yeah.
What's been 100% in there, yeah.
Finally, for the retirement rate, Alex says 5%. Rick says you cheeky little. He says 6.9%.
I was wondering
the
how
answer is 5%. So points go to Alex.
Nice. Okay. Sorry, my dog right now has just put her paws on my arm. Like, excuse me, sir. Why aren't we outside playing? I'm coming out. Sweet. That means I'm finally in the lead on one of these. God damn. See if I can maintain it. That's been one full round, right? So it's 8 Alex, 6 Rick, 1 Paula.
Yep.
Madness. Okay, yeah.
I think that's been one full round, yeah. Because then next week it's me. So then Paula, it's a chance for you to either come right back up or Rick to blast forward.
Reestablish my dominance. Yes.
We shall see.
Let's see.
It's still technically anyone's game because all it takes is one real good round to blast forward. So we'll find out. Awesome. That's it. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We will catch y'all next week.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.